South Park has taken Kathleen Kennedy and destroyed her reputation to the general public. Her reputation was already destroyed, to this actual, like Star Wars fans, especially, and a lot of the, people that were in the, that followed a lot of the stuff going on with Disney. But now, people know Kathleen Kennedy's name.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
On Twitter, you go on Twitter, she's being called out by name now, which, is not something that was happening as often, a few weeks ago. But anyway, I saw an article pop up, and and actually this morning, I looked at the article. It popped up a few days ago, and it had been, talked about and discussed a little bit. And then I saw Yellow Flash actually covering the article as well. And I thought, hey, this is crazy. Let's talk about it, especially with all the Gina Carano stuff going on. Because, everything going on with the Gina Carano stuff, it's pretty wild. Because this, literally Gina Carano has, called this out and said, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. And it's true. Basically what's going on is Kathleen Kennedy is using, the Hollywood Reporter and a lot of these websites as her minions, basically.
Surprise, motherfucker.
To kind of, turn the tide the other way, to be like, things aren't that bad. Yeah, Indiana Jones didn't do great, but that's not Kathleen Kennedy's fault, Yeah, Star Wars is good. It's good. This article points out, I think it's Andor. They're like, yeah, it was a critical success. And yeah, Andor may be good. I hear it's good. But the thing is, people didn't watch it. And that's a problem. The brand now of Star Wars, something that, people are watching it now, that's insane to me. Star Wars at one point was must watch. But like Marvel, people are able to just straight up skip Star Wars content. And the reporter, yeah, okay. They can say that I'm sure she's not the only one, but they're trying to make it like she's not the one to blame. She actually is the one to blame. And they talk about The Mandalorian doing so well until season 3. What happened in season 3? They pushed the main character out of his own show, and then it was, about another character. And, that's all well and good and everything, but it obviously wasn't a popular thing, and people didn't love it. It was actually not something that did well. I didn't even finish season 3, which is crazy. I used to love The Mandalorian. That was must watch. As soon as Mandalorian dropped, bam, I'm there, Not anymore. And now that Kathleen Kennedy is the known entity in Disney, and we know that is the problem, at least for Star Wars anyway. But it's bleeding over to other stuff too. Yeah, it's they're copying. It's like they're copying somebody else's homework, but the original person got the homework wrong. This stuff is not working. So they're like, let's implement this into, Marvel as well. And let's keep in mind they copied, at the phase, I think it was All New, All Different or whatever. That was not popular even in the comic books. And they copied a lot of that over to the MCU. It didn't work. Kamala Khan, as much as they want her to be the new Spider-Man, it didn't work in the comic books, okay? Miles Morales worked. Kamala Khan did not. Ironheart did not work at all. Riri Williams, one of the more despised characters in the past decade, I would say. Especially new characters. She is pretty far up there. Even the whole thing with Jane Foster, even though I didn't mind it as much as, a lot of the other stuff, it's still they didn't work. And even when they did in the MCU, they made it a lot worse. That is in the comic books. In the comic books, there was that mystery going on. They can really do that in this one. But yeah. But Star Wars, the thing about Star Wars is it has a long history that they basically kind of just crapped on. Look at what they did to Luke Skywalker. Boba Fett. These characters. And you know, there's some exciting stuff they've been sprinkling in here and there. I know the prequels are much more accepted and much more liked than they used to be. And, you know, so I mean, yeah, you know, we put Anakin in. You know, that was cool. I didn't see it. I didn't watch it yet, but I mean, that was, you know, that's cool. Okay, that's a cool thing. You know, and Hayden Christensen is still around. You know, use him. Why not? Sure, that's fine. You know, and a lot of the other things they've done, I feel like, you know, there's some good things here and there, but then instead of it like, kind of like focusing on this and making Star Wars special again and all this stuff, it's like they've made Star Wars so not special anymore. Mandalorian, honestly, the first season was the best thing from Star Wars in forever. It blew the movies out of the water. I mean, the sequel movies, that sequel trilogy, I mean, when you put that up to like the first season of The Mandalorian, I mean, I was excited every time a new episode dropped for Mandalorian for a long time. And the movies just, I mean, okay. I mean, they were just not good. I mean, you know, the first one, I know a lot of people didn't like the first one they did. I didn't mind it. It was okay. I was like, okay, I see what they're doing. Sure, beat for beat, yeah, it's all like the original. But okay, that's fine. Do that. And then the second one, they just throw away everything. And then the third one, they ended on a fart, a wet fart. I mean, really. I mean, that was the wrap up to the trilogy. I mean, that was just a rough trilogy. And I feel like Kathleen Kennedy should be held responsible for this stuff. And Gina Carano pointed this out. I mean, this is what she does. She uses the media, right? This woke media to push her agenda and be like, oh, it's good, it's good. And up until very recently, I mean, I feel like a lot of people were buying it, and then a lot of this stuff with Star Wars came out, and people are now seeing that, hey, I mean, Kathleen Kennedy is a problem. This stuff does not work. It's just not what we want. I mean, people obviously don't want this. I mean, look at like what they've done here recently. I mean, Indiana Jones, another from Lucasfilms, Indiana Jones. I mean, finally bringing Harrison Ford back in the role, right? I mean, they did it, yeah, with the crystal, you know, the crystal skull. But I mean, really, I mean, a lot of people even forget about the crystal skull, to be honest with you. But finally bringing him back, you know, probably more likely the last time he will ever be the character. And a wet fart. How sad. You can tell by the trailers. People are, and everything coming out. I mean, even the general people who know nothing about this, you know, like the behind the scenes stuff, they're seeing the trailers and they're not getting excited. Social media is not abuzz with positivity for this stuff, especially like Star Wars. I mean, it is such a mixed bag with Star Wars right now. Honestly, it is. It really is. I mean, there's like, you know, there's all this stuff and people are like, oh, it's good. Then nobody wants to watch it. That's a problem. And you can say, you know, superhero fatigue, Star Wars fatigue. Sure, that's there to a degree, for sure. But the thing is, let's also keep in mind, let's take Marvel, for example. They were doing a lot of years, multiple movies a year, right? Sure, yeah. Or at very least, one movie a year, for sure. And then a lot of times, multiple movies. People were loving it. People were eating it up because most of the time it was good. Sure, there were some, you know, some stinkers here and there, for sure. But it wasn't like across the board. It wasn't like we were getting like, you know, 10 projects in a row that honestly sucked. I mean, maybe you have one good thing in there. You have, you know, Moon Knight in there, you know, and then you have some that are just okay, you know, throughout, you know, a lot of it, and some that kind of suck. Then you have your She-Hulks in there, and honestly, Kamala Khan sucked. I mean, you know, I feel bad for the actress. I mean, because that kid, I mean, this is meant to be an opportunity of a lifetime. Same thing with the chick who played America Chavez, but they were strapped to kind of crappy characters, and then in crappy projects on top of that. That's not going to work. And even the girl playing Riri Williams, man, I don't know. She probably didn't even know at all. She probably just saw MCU, Black Panther 2, get my own show, like all this stuff happening. But the issue is, it's Riri freaking Williams. And one of the most interesting things to me about Riri Williams was Tony Stark's whole AI thing. That's not even happening as far as we know in this stuff. You know, so she's just automatically basically a dollar store version of Tony Stark. But she's meant to be so smart. She's so much smarter. She's just a kid and she's already this smart. Whoop-de. Cool. Just, I mean, really just a Mary Sue. And that's honestly what she is. And that sucks. You know, that sucks because these characters, I mean, when you put them in the MCU, you have a chance to look at what didn't work and see, and just be like, let's put in the things that, you know, let's take things that do kind of work, you know, and then let's make them work. Because the thing is, they're so focused on this whole like, oh, people are sexist. And I think this article points that out. People are sexist against Kathleen Kennedy because she's a female. What about Bob Iger and all the other males? You know, Kevin Feige. What about them? They're not getting all this hate. You know, yeah, they are. First of all, they are. But the thing is, Kathleen Kennedy, I feel like is really been pushing it the whole time. You know, and I mean it's the same thing with all these characters. I don't dislike Riri Williams because she's a black female at all. I liked a lot of the female characters in Black Panther in the first Black Panther movie. I can't think of one I didn't like. I mean, people like it. I mean, look at that whole like first movie. People were not complaining about that, and there was mostly females in that movie with T'Challa. You know, I mean, some people did, I'm sure, but I wasn't complaining. I was like, yeah, this is fine, this works. Same thing with Black Widow. Same thing with Wanda. The issue is these characters suck, and these projects suck. You didn't need America Chavez to come in and basically be the one to beat Wanda when you have Doctor Strange right there. Come on, you know. And it's like, and you know, I like Clea in the comic books, but it looks like they're going more into that too. So, you know, and that, or if it works out anyway. So there's just more stuff, you know, and this whole thing, you know, I didn't believe it at first, but the whole MCU, She-U stuff, I mean, yeah, I see it now. I mean, this is like a lot of projects that, yeah, are rough. And even in Shang-Chi, I mean, they could, and I like Shang-Chi. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, definitely for what I thought they were going to do with the character. But they really didn't need, you know, Katie there. You know, they didn't need him to be surrounded by females. They didn't need that element. You know, this could have just been his story and him going against his father, and that's his story. And that would have been just fine. That would have been just fine. They didn't need to like basically create stuff for him, you know, or for whatever, for him to be around and talk to. And it'd be different if they're there, but they're not like taking over the movie, you know. That's whenever we have issues, when they're just like trying to overshadow, like in Doctor Strange, when you have America Chavez trying to overshadow Doctor Strange. That's a problem. I mean, right? I mean, Black Panther, I mean, there's a lot of situations. I mean, you know, the female Black Panther, that is what it is, you know, and at least it's from the comic books. Okay, that is what it is. But we didn't need Ironheart in that. I mean, you know, I know this became a lot about Marvel, sorry, but you know, all over the place. But really, back to Disney, the same thing. I mean, you have them doing the same thing, and I know, you know, Mandalorian season 3, you know, the character they brought in, a lot of people like that character, sure. So I mean, okay, that probably didn't get as much backlash. But then, you know, we have other, you know, like, I mean, when you look back to the movies and look at Rey, they could have made Rey a decent character, but it was just obviously no plan from the beginning. Making her like, you know, the Palpatine stuff. I mean, that whole thing was crap. Complete crap. I mean, they just like, it was just crap on crap on crap. The whole thing. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, you know, making her like so much more powerful and that whole thing. They didn't need to do all that. I mean, that obviously wasn't what was needed. I mean, we can tell by the way these movies perform, the way people like lose interest in this stuff. And you have so much goodwill in the Star Wars community, and you're blowing it. And then you got people like that Star Wars girl that goes on there trying to gatekeep. If you didn't, yeah, check that video out. I did a video. I'll leave it in the comments. like I go through her old, she's just getting tore apart. She's basically like, if you agree with Gina Carano, then you're kicked out of the Star Wars community. Come on, really? If you haven't checked that, check that crap out. That's something else. That people like that are out here, and that's your fan base now. That is your primary fan base. I mean, really. Instead of it being like, instead of at one time, it was mostly male. I get that. But also it was like decent enough stories to where like you could still enjoy the story. I get it. I know movies are not made for me, not every movie, and that's fine. You can do your Kamala Khans and your like whatever Ahsokus and all this stuff, and that's fine. That's that is perfectly fine, and that's great. But the thing is, whenever it's being like shoved down your throat, and it's so obviously shoved down your throat, and then you're told, if you don't like it, you're told that you're sexist or you're a racist now because you didn't like this character. Really? Come on. Really? It's because you're ruining the characters. Look, okay, back to Marvel again. Secret Wars. Nick Fury and War Machine were two beloved characters that you ruined in the series. What the friggin'? And even like, I guess I was meant to be Super Skrull at the end with the, with what's her name? Emily, the girl from Game of Thrones. Daenerys from Game of Thrones. Like what? Really? That whole show. And then you kill off Maria Hill in the show for no reason. What the hell are you doing? Like, and the reason I keep going back to Marvel, Disney has Marvel and Star Wars so connected to where they're going on this like parallel path, it feels like, of just like movies that aren't very good and shows that aren't very good. I guess at least Marvel's still getting movies. Star Wars, yeah, there's a lot of stuff with that right now. And even like at one time, apparently Kevin Feige was supposed to be getting his own Star Wars movie. Yeah, it's a whole deal. But really, Kathleen Kennedy, she should be a household name, and she should be blamed. We should be blaming her. And if you're not blaming her, then maybe like that Star Wars girl said, you don't belong in our Star Wars community, or whatever. Who gives a crap? Stay or go. I don't care. Watch Star Wars. Don't watch Star Wars. Most people don't really care that much. Really, to be trying to kick you out of the community. But anyway, that's a whole other thing about the whole gatekeeping thing. And I know that like some people do like these movies and all this stuff. I know people like this stuff. I know they do. We found one on Twitter. They're in the minority for sure. But the thing is, they're not acting like they're the minority. They're acting like you're an idiot if you don't agree, you don't like this, or you're transphobic or whatever, or sexist or whatever the big thing is that they're trying to cancel somebody for nowadays.